Greetings, everyone! I'm the so-called artist who makes the webcomic known as Cubeman. I like to cover dark themes, some of them humorous, some of them political. Sometimes I just draw whatever I want and put a slogan or some poetry there. It depends on the mood. I've been at it since 2015. My art style has evolved since then, and I switch up my media and my techniques all the time. I post works in progress, step by step, to my Instagram story. I thought I'd go on YouTube and show you how I do it sometimes. So, let's take a look at how I made a frame for a graphic novel that I'm working on. Ready? Let's go! I always start with a pencil sketch. A basic HB is enough. The main activity after that is inking. And for my inking, this time I used Prismacolor fine liner markers. Not an endorsement, by the way. Nobody in their right mind would pay me to make this video. You can see I made short lines, hatch-like, that went perpendicular to the sketch lines. You can also see I used a .08 marker at first. This is the marker with the widest tip in the set. Later on, you'll see why I used it. Yeah, that's a tentacle in front of his face. Welcome to my world. I did the same thing with the guy's head. I also blackened his oh-so-wide pupils and his open mouth. I did this for the rest of the human. Notice that the lines are parallel to each other but angled to the sketch line. Sometimes perpendicular to it, sometimes not. Noses and eyes pose a particular challenge for me. I don't draw representative human faces very often. Then, I waited a bit for the ink to dry. These markers are alcohol-based and the paper is very absorbent, so this doesn't take long. Then I used my trusty eraser to get rid of the pencil lines. This grays out some of the inking, but we can deal with that later. I think it's more important to get rid of the penciling as soon as I can. Oh yes, the eyebrows, gotta give him some of those. Arched just right for a guy who has a tentacle waving in his face. Now I switch to the .05 marker. This has a thinner tip than the .08 marker that I used previously. Experts have told me I should use the same marker tip width for the entire image. I'm not an expert. I experimented with different tips in the same image before, and I loved the effect. Anyway, you can see the tentacle is in front, so I did that first. Now you can see me using the .05 marker working inward from the initial lines of the guy's head. I used it to create shadows under his eyes and under his nose, as well as expression lines. Here you can see me using it to fill in the irises of his eyes. I then carefully added lines to the rest of his head. Careful, that is, not to darken it too much. I can afford to be bolder on the neck under his chin. I heard professional makeup artists pay close attention to the contrast between the chin and the neck, so I thought I'd try it. But instead of using makeup to brighten his face, I used ink to darken the upper part of his neck. Same concept. Let's take care of the rest of his neck and work on his torso and arms. This looks like the .03 marker. The lines are more fine. This part of the man's body is closer to the light, which is presumed to be in front of him, and it adds depth to the picture. I can't tell if I'm using the .01 marker for these strokes or not. It looks lighter though, so maybe. And here's where I went back to the thick marker, the .08, and used that in the good old armpit area. I love how it brought out the shape more and added depth. Let's add some hatching to denote the wall behind him. Yes, his back is to the wall, and some eldritch abomination is waving a tentacle in his face. In cartooning, still images need to capture the situation's drama. I sometimes like to make images with no white space at all, by the way. I call this painting without paint. I fill the entire quote-unquote canvas. I allow myself to leave a sky blank, but not a wall. Ah yes, more armpit work. Let's give him depth to both sides. Finally, this character has thick, wild hair. I used the .08 for that. My technique here was different. I drew each hair as a line starting from the scalp, then drew several overlapping lines from the same source. And there you have it. Finished image. What are your thoughts? Put them in the comments below. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. Follow Cubeman on my other socials to see more art. The links are in the description for this video. I'll see you in the next one. Be well.